star and co-writer Will Arnett. I'm so happy to say these next few words, Laura Dern.
Yeah.
Andra. You know him, you love him. He's the movie's resident stoner, director Bradley Cooper.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you here tonight. Kidding. Will, I want to start with you real quick. So, this really kind of begins with you meeting a gentleman named John Bishop, right? He's a British gentleman, you met him in England, you heard his story, which forms the basis of this. My question is, what made you want to come back to your writing partner and be like, hey, I think there's a film here, or I think there's a story here that we can develop, and then what made you eventually pass that to Bradley Cooper?
Well, yeah, truthfully, I actually met him not in England, I met him on a canal boat in Amsterdam. And that's a true story. But I remember him telling me the story of how he became a stand-up, and it really stuck with me. Just about it stuck is the operative word, about a guy who's very stuck and starts doing stand-up and doesn't tell anybody in his life that he's doing this, and he finds this. Actually told me that nothing else worked. He spent some time when he's going through a breakup where he's drinking for a while and that doesn't work and all these things, and actually the thing that he doesn't expect, going up on stage in front of a bunch of people, something he's never considered. He'd been to a couple comedy shows in his life, he has no relationship to it whatsoever. A guy from Liverpool who lives outside of Manchester, that this thing starts to free him up, and I found that there was something really compelling about it and how it ended up full circle. In a lot of ways, saving his marriage. And so I did indeed call Mark Chappell, and coincidentally he said he knew the story and had thought about it a lot himself, which is very weird. And so we started working on it, and Bradley and I go way back, of course, and we were actually talking about, he was working on Maestro at the time, and I said, I'm working on this thing, and we're working on it, and Bradley said, send it to me, and I really wanted his thoughts on it. Bradley said, I think that there's something here, I want to direct this with you, and I want to work on the script with you guys. And he came in, and it just, we ended up, going to places, once Bradley came into places that we could only dream of, certainly with the script and then with every other part of the filmmaking.
Bradley, what was it that struck a chord with you about this?
Initially, it's Will Arnett, who I've loved and known for many, many years. We lived right next to each other in Venice, California, back in the early 2000s as sort of actors with a dream. And he's always been the funniest guy in the room, always. It's so charismatic. And then the minute he was just telling me the story, I just saw this image of his face, which is actually what even lasted all the way to what you saw tonight, that composition of him on stage. And I don't know, it just stuck with me, and I couldn't get it out of my mind. And then, when that little pilot light is lit, I just started talking to him about it. And I love just these sort of factual points of a guy doesn't want to pay a cover, and then and then he's just sitting there. And then there's something about and we live in an age really where people feel very comfortable speaking to strangers, whether it's through social media, about what they would never normally maybe say to somebody that's in front of them that they know. And what an interesting arena to explore. That this guy's all of a sudden put in front of this thing, and he's like, I'm getting into a divorce. And that's actually when the camera first sees him fully, except for the first shot when he's basically catatonic.
Right.
We're sort of never really seeing his face until that moment when he has to confront us because he's going to actually see something truthful. It all just started to get very exciting, and it just sort of he kept building from there. And I love New York. I thought, oh wow, to be able to explore a movie we talked about where community is so necessary and finding a collective in New York, that was it for me. I grew up in Philadelphia, dreamt of acting, knew nothing about it other than I love TV and movies. And then all of a sudden I found myself here in the late 90s, and I just was like, this is what everybody says. Sinatra was right. And and so that, and the cellar, if any of you have ever been to the cellar, you know, it's always been that way. And that's why everybody in the cellar, they saw that all the people that speak there where they work, that's all the comics that are there for the most part. If we went there right now, I guarantee you David Tell smoked a cigarette outside McDougal right now.
He's a good man, he's a legend.
Yeah. So it just became very exciting to explore all these things, and then one by one to be able to work with all of these incredible actors. And I just have to, Shayna and I, we met on Joker, and then she came on and did Maestro, and this is the most incredible casting director. If I'm blessed to ever make another movie, I'll always ask her first. I mean, she just chose, the children, those boys, the amount of boys that you looked at, and all the comics and everybody. I mean, she is just the absolute best. She moved to LA, let's get her back to New York. I hate that she lives in LA.
I mean, you say that people are more comfortable talking in front of strangers. To me, the idea of being in front of like a room full of strangers with a microphone is terrifying. Right, I would never do it in a million years.
Yeah.
But you know,
Look how honest you're being.
I mean, it's truthful. I'm not gonna close up, shake it close up right now. But Will, you to prep for this, you went in character, I think, right? For like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and actually went and did open mics and
Yeah,
just
like 6 weeks. The whole time we were doing prep, we started going. First, we actually went to Austin, Texas, but we started going to the cellar every night. Starting in early January of last year, and we kind of decided that that's what I needed to do and go down as Alex Novak, working on the various sets that we were working on that Alex has throughout his arc in the film, and as he develops as a stand-up. So I started going on as Alex Novak at the cellar. I'm not a stand-up. I've lived in I call it a comedy adjacent world. And so it was terrifying for me to go up there and do it, especially doing it with this set that was not particularly funny. It was confusing to people, you know, at various stages of talking about getting divorced and my wife, and people were like, what is going on? Where are the jokes, you know? But we always knew we were doing something different, so that was the thing that was our kind of our beacon, was that we were doing something different, and so I had to kind of jump off, and it was scary, and I have so much respect for what those comics do. It's incredible. It does take a lot of guts. I don't know if anybody here has ever done stand-up before. My hat's off to you. It's pretty incredible.
Tried.
Yeah.
I'm still trying.
It was fun to watch Will, you know, go there every day. You know, we went there like 3 or 4 times a night, and each night, three times each night. And to watch all the comics start to like slowly, first they were always very supportive, but actually respect you. You know, like, and they'd be like, you know, it was
I
bad.
think they respected how dumb I was to keep doing it.
No, but the truth is, they were like, you know, the thing in the middle that was a funny bit. Maybe you work on this. You know, always willing to help.
That community was really, really helpful.
Yeah.
They were, and they did give me a lot of guidance. And there were so many great moments that we learned, and all these things that were really helpful. Going in, Bradley and I went in one night, and I went downstairs to the cellar and did a set that had some elements that are in Alex's sets, and also some elements to just get a laugh. And we ended up, it was a great night, killed. Went upstairs, Liz, who's the manager in the film, is the real manager at the cellar, and she's brilliant person.
Just invaluable.
Just so integral to what we did. And Liz said, so I had this great set, totally killer. She goes, you can go right around the corner to the Fat Black Pussycat. There's another, to the bar.
Village Underground.
Yeah,
It was Village Underground.
it was Village Underground.
Right, I think
And
so.
they have all these different rooms. She goes, you can go right now in 5 minutes. You can do a set. We're like, great. We ran it. We were just riding this high of killing it. Go in and absolutely bum. Same material. 5 minutes later. I mean, talk about a pin drop. It was.
You heard 2 guys laughing, me and our friend, and I was laughing how much he was bombing.
There were only 2 laughing, and I'm like 12 seconds in, and I've got 7 minutes to go. I'm like, all right, so who's from New York? Like, you start getting the crowd, you know?
Yeah, true.
I love that we meet Alex and Tess. The kind of disintegration's already well in progress, and the very first things that we hear with them is like, we need to call it, right? Which is just brutal. It's just a brutal way of kind of understanding where this relationship is headed. And I actually really like the fact that like there's not flashbacks. There's you don't need to see how this is the moment that everything changed. Things have already changed. They're just kind of trying to figure out how to basically spin the aftermath at this point. So I want to talk to you about the decision to do that, and I'm curious for Will and Laura how that aspect affected the performances and building the rapport between these two characters.
Yeah, I mean, it was a tall order for the actors, because then they have to keep, hopefully, you guys engaged in the discovery, but not really seeing any of the meat for a very long time, kind of till the attic at the end of the movie, when you actually understand her, especially, and then what he wasn't providing, potentially, or not able to articulate or express or provide for her. But it just felt like, myself, friends, it's not the normal thing is like this horrific thing happened. Just people start to, my friend described it, two boats are like this and one just starts that point off and they were going parallel. After a certain level of space, the boats are like that. And things just slowly started to erode and they weren't working or they weren't communicating. And especially given Tess's character, it was always moving forward, always headed in a direction. Of course, like, let's just call it. And the great thing about what I like also that's intriguing, hopefully, is that he's not like, what? He's like, yeah, I think you're right? Right. And now let's get the logistics. I'm a parent to this, but it is odd structure, it is asking a lot of you guys and of the actors to keep it compelling.
Well, it's all the banality of it, right, is kind of depressing at that point. Should we call it? Yeah, I think we should. That is, there's not a lot of drama, and so it was for us as a kicking off point, I mean, you can speak to this, was an interesting place to start.
Well, it was amazing because, as you spoke beautifully to the inspiration of John Bishop and his wife Mel, that I knew the inspiration of that story from the both of you, and we learned, and I learned, that not only had they gone through this time and was this the origin story of John literally going in to sign his name so he didn't have to pay the cover, but in fact, she actually did go with friends to a comedy club, and he was standing there.
Yeah, that's the
and
other
this
plot
happened.
point. That's real. That's what happened. Yeah.
And so that idea was so inspiring.
He'd actually made a joke that night where he heard her laugh, and he said the punchline was something to the effect of, I got rid of my wife, that's not entirely true, I still have her head in my freezer. and Travis groans like you are, but he hears one person, he looks out and it's his ex-wife. And he doesn't know she's there, and she's bewildered by the fact that he's on stage telling jokes.
Yeah. It was so beautiful. I mean, such a beautiful concept, too.
Severed head.
I
don't know about that.
We didn't keep that joke.
That was never in there.
Yeah. But also said that he missed her.
Yeah.
That night.
Yeah.
But he still missed his wife. And that was like her wake up call.
And she had said to him on that night when she saw him, that's the guy I married. And she pointed to the stage. And that for us meant a lot.
Yeah.
It was, it's in there. It's not, those words aren't in there, but that idea is in there.
Yeah, I mean, they go outside at night, hopefully you don't know what's going on. You certainly don't expect her to say it was hot.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then that great thing about someone that knows you, really was I hot? I was hot. I love that. The intimacy is so built in over all these years that when she says something truthful, he's going to be like, I love that moment between you two.
But just, having the luxury of finding it, hearing about that inspiration. I mean, the most beautiful thing with the greatest audience possible to share this with is, as actors, no matter what you dream, that you get incredible characters. Like we all had the luxury of, and you feel inspired and you love this story, and then you get there and you try to figure out how maybe you're going to get away with trying stuff and don't know if the director's gonna let you. Then you have Bradley Cooper walk into your life, and everything you've ever dreamt of as an actor comes true. That he's the one asking for us to, for us to spend weeks exploring these characters ourselves, sharing everything with each other, that he's wanting us to be best friends, that he's wanting us each to find these relationships. The way, I'm sure, I'd love to hear your experience of this, but in the process of casting, that everything has to be true. There's never a moment that's not going to be true. And then, I'm sure you'll speak to this, but he's also your operator, so he's right there with you, literally in your ear, whispering as we're trying to find moments. Or yelling.
Say why. Say why.
Yeah, say why.
No,
yeah.
say why.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't hear.
Well, that's the other thing. Somebody would tell me something about it, he'd yell across the room. His hearing's terrible, he can't hear.
True. So I want to talk about that club scene, and I want to talk about my other favorite scene in this film, which is the "Let me tell you why I despise you" monologue. Both of these are like jazz solos in the middle of this symphony. I love both of these scenes a lot. Let's start with the club scene first, Laura, if you don't mind, because I'm a real fan of when an actor gives an entire stem to stern performance without barely saying a word. And that camera is on your face while you're watching this thing, and I feel like you go on a journey with that character from one thing to another, and it's all you just doing that with your expressions. So let's start with you, talking about how you kind of went into that scene.
Yeah, I remember that part.
Thank you so much. That's so kind, and I have to give it back to Bradley, because that's the moment where the director takes a little piece to cut away to what she must feel, as though it's something we can tell in a moment, and we can't. So to have a filmmaker who wants to experience the journey with her, and be right there with me in it, and in real time give me the time to watch my entire marriage in front of me. That was amazing. It was so beautiful to have that opportunity. And so, just a radical gift of trust and discovery, and also to work with a partner who's saying, we don't know what's going to happen here, so let's just discover it, instead of ever predefining a moment or knowing, because purposely, I had not seen him do his coverage of it. I watched it for the first time so that I could, feel everything it would feel like to be there listening to him describe having sex with another woman. While Peyton Manning watches. So yes, a lot of emotions. And how good is Peyton Manning as an actor?
Did anybody not notice he was in the film, by the way?
Oh yeah. I saw the cast there, Peyton Manning.
Okay, the "Let me tell you why I despise you" speech. Let's just talk about navigating that. It really is such a great standalone moment in that film.
It's incredibly well written, and that's credit to Will and to the amazing Mark Chappell and to Bradley. But I think one of the things that we established early on is that Christine is one of the most honest characters, I think, in the film. I think she's always saying what people are thinking out loud. And I think she comes off as, a little harder to love until you realize in that moment, she's being really honest with herself. And I think that, I love the line that she says, the reason I despise you is because really I hate myself, and I hate what I've become, and I hate what I've allowed myself to become, and you represent all of that to me. And I love in the moment that she's saying I despise you, but you also see her great admiration for Alex, and I think, and so I think that, she blames marriage, but one of the things we spoke about is, them divulging that they're getting a divorce really exposes to her that her and Balls, every time you make me say that name, no, that her and Balls are also at a crossroads. They're about to be empty nesters, and so there's questions that maybe they didn't realize they have to ask themselves. And I think that she has to start her own path of self-discovery. And I think she realizes how much, though she loves this person and she respects this person, she loves her son, she's grateful for her, I think she maybe realizes also how much she felt like she had to give up in her own life in order to maintain this. I don't think that Christine would have ever thought about divorce or discovering herself as an option were it not for Tess and Alex in this sort of, I want to say blowing up, but it's really just, what's the word you used the other day? Midlife catharsis. Yeah, that was really, really amazing. So, yeah.
Yeah, what you said it was not a midlife crisis, it's a midlife catharsis, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's such a great line.
Yeah, it's not mine.
Oh.
Somebody said it in front of me, I'm trying to remember who it is. I was like, I'm gonna repeat that a lot.
Take credit for it.
Yeah,
Take
sorry.
credit for it at this point.
You can't, you have to tell the truth, it's strange.
No, it's true.
Yeah, totally works.
It's like a truth stick, yeah. I think it's no secret that we live in divisive times, and the discourse is devolved, and people can't get along, and yet there's one aspect, there's a small patch of common ground that I think we all share, which is that the world needs Christine Ebersole, and we need Ebersole.
Yes.
Can you please tell us everything about this character? Just tell us about establishing the dynamic, how meddlesome you wanted it to be, how not meddlesome you wanted it to be. It's just such a wonderful turn. It's so great to see you up there.
Well, I thank you. That is so nice. And I really don't know how I got here. I wanted to be a nurse. That's all. Became an actor by default. Motor skills. But I think that the character happened because Bradley provided the space for the potential of bringing 100% of myself to the room, to the table. I never sat at home and went, how meddlesome do I want to be? No, it didn't work that way. It just, I didn't know anybody really before this time together. And yet, again, because how Bradley set the tone, everything felt so organic and so natural, so that the way I talked, the way I expressed myself, the energy that came from that. When I saw myself on the screen, I literally said, I did that? I mean, I almost didn't recognize it, you know what I mean? But because I was so in the middle of the experience that I was able to bring all of myself to the role. And working with everybody here, it just felt like I was his mother. You know, and these things came naturally out of it, out of a love for this person, out of a love for my son, out of a love for my daughter-in-law. It just, there was an honesty there that it didn't feel manufactured. Does that answer your question?
Good.
Yes, it does, and yes.
Thank you. Okay, good.
Shana, we have not forgotten that you're here.
Hi.
Hey. Can you talk a little bit about casting some of the, what I'll call the non-core roles, by which I mean, where did you find those boys? How were you picking the comics? I mean, Chloe Radcliffe, I don't know if you guys have seen any of her stand-up, she's absolutely wonderful. Yeah, and just the actual Comedy Cellar employees. Tell us how you kind of filled out the roster here.
Sure. Well, Bradley and I talked a lot about, making the world feel really authentic, and especially the open micers we didn't want them to be people that were very recognizable. So we, looked at lineups of really small clubs in New York and watched so much footage and went to them and auditioned many stand-ups because they had to be stand-ups, but they also had to be really good actors. So that was how we came to find Chloe and Jordan, and watching their stand-ups and then auditioning, and then we also really worked with Liz Furiati, who was able to sort of help us with some of the comics that were at the cellar, or we could say, does this feel, like this person Sam J is often at the cellar, whereas Jordan Jensen, that feels more realistic that she would be in the group with Alex. So that was important to just make that feel authentic to New York. And then for the boys, we auditioned a lot of boys, because you're trying to find you're building a family, so you're trying to find a physical resemblance to Laura and Will, but you're also trying to find boys that just feel like little boys, not actors. So first it was about finding that feeling, and then also making sure that they felt like brothers and the children of Laura and Will.
With the camera, that very first shot, the camera's in the school and it's kind of winding its way through the thing, and then you settle on Will's face. He has this look that just suggests that a soul has been snuffed out. Like, he just looks so incredibly depleted, and even before you know what this guy's situation is, you just feel like, oh my God, he has gone to the ringer. And I foolishly thought that would be the best entrance that we would see in the film, but then this guy walks in, falls flat in his face, spills all this soy vodka all over the floor, and then he gets up and you're like, I didn't know Jerry Garcia was in this movie.
Oh my
How did you end up casting yourself
Jerry
in that
Garcia.
role, and how are you deciding how stoned you were in the scene?
Jerry Garcia.
Thank you.
Jerry Garcia.
Yeah. I love balls.
End quote.
There's this idea of an archetypal character of the fool who actually has the wisdom, and he's actually the one at the end who says, the end of the photo, what's that? That's Tess. He's like, oh, I can't see your face, right? He's like, just turn it around. And which is basically telling him, he's like, we can't do that. He's like, someday. The little nod to AI. But, So I love that, this sort of, he had to come in, he had to fall, that had to be his entrance, because he had to surprise you with this wisdom at the end. I just sort of, again, to Gali, the costume designer, so much of Balls was his wardrobe. He only wears onesies through the whole movie, and which I then adopted and wore for quite a while.
We all got one.
To people's laughter. And then we gave onesies as wrap gifts to everybody. I wear mine. I just sort of love that guy. Yeah, I really, really love that guy. He's very stoned, but he handles his weed very well. Yeah.
A lot of wisdom and a really great hat.
Yeah, great. The hat from Star Wars Born, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice callback.
Anyway. Yeah. It was weird. It was weird putting that hat on, I'll tell you that. It was weird. I was like, maybe this was not the right choice.
There's a million more questions I could ask, but I know we've got to wrap it up. So I'm just gonna ask one last one, and this goes out to everybody here in the panel. I'm just curious what you guys think that this film says about just the necessity of constantly trying to renew yourself, and the necessity of trying to sustain relationships and how you do that. And I'm, of course, asking this question for a friend.
It's a good question, and it is at the core of the whole movie. And the movie makes fun of a word. It uses a word, then it makes fun of it, and then it collectively chants it, and then at the end, there's the definition of it for us, which is grace. And that giving yourself the grace, giving your fellow member of society grace, That really is one of the things that you know I try to think about every day, and really just living in a world where it's not even you have to have a goal about bettering yourself or renewing yourself. Actually, if we just start talking to each other and communicating, it's the byproduct. You know, Alex doesn't go to that stand-up thinking, you know what, I need to self-improve. It just finds himself here. He starts speaking honestly. There's a collective of people and that are warm, and he finds himself in a culture that he then starts to just reveal himself better and for worse. The vampire, you know, part of that's what I love so much about the way Will was able to go to that place of really showing the dark side of himself in that penultimate set that he does of the vampire set. It's like once you're open up, and then people give you the grace to be yourself. And so my hope, and it is what I believe, you know, as the world gets smaller with technology, we actually are so much more aware of everybody in the world in a way that I certainly was all the way up to my 20s, that maybe it's an opportunity for us to communicate as opposed to be sort of tribalistic. I don't know.
Again, just a lot of piggybacking, but I do, what I would say is, and allow yourselves to do that. And that's what I love about this character, allow yourselves to do that, allow other people to do that. That's what I feel like we see with Alex and Tess's characters, with Balls and Christine's characters, is, you know, once you get to a place where you go, yeah, we're supposed to change. You shouldn't be, we're changing metabolically, right, every day. You shouldn't be the same person you are, you know, next year that you were this year. And you should be changing. And I think if we allow ourselves the grace to continue to do that, and as you said, experience the byproduct, let engaging with life transform us in the way that it's supposed to. But I think we watch these characters do that, you know, I think it's amazing.
Interesting. Yeah.
I guess I would just add the kindness that is held in these characters in this story, that as Paul says to Alex in that last scene together, that he and Christine had talked it out and, you know, said what they needed to say, and it was hard, but they said it, and the simplicity of communication, of being truthful to yourself and to the person you love is so profound. It's the thing I run from so much in relationships. You know, they're not going to want to hear that, or I don't know if I should show that piece that's, you know, flawed. And, you know, the beauty of being reminded that this is the greatest gift possible, wherever it leads us, is incredible. And getting to do it with these very people sitting right here is an incredible dream.
I disagree.
Oh, okay. Fuck. Disagree.
It didn't work out.
I think for me, one of the things that I think about a lot is this idea of, Ball says it to Alex on the steps at Oyster Bay when he says it's never too late. It's great seeing you. It's never too late for a man of a certain age to make change. He says you seem really happy. I think, and I speak for myself when I say this, but certainly I think one of the things is we can spend a lot of time fighting for my limitations. And when I get in that space, then that's when you become stuck. And you have this idea of who I am and what and this is my lot, and this is where I should be, and this is the thing. And you start to create these walls, and it is only when everybody keeps saying this, the common thread is the communication, when you can kind of open yourself up, be vulnerable, and allow yourself to take that risk, and that was certainly my experience making the film. That was certainly our experience writing the film and being in with these people. And I think that's what these characters go through. And when we allow ourselves to make those leaps, anybody, I always rail when people say, "Well, I'm the type of person." I'm like, "No, fuck that. We're all the type of person who are anything."
Yeah.
Yes.
And certainly that goes for relationships and love and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Well, watching the film, it gave me hope of reconciliation. I think that's really what we all need to do in order to move forward together
Mm-hmm.
is reconciliation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How we understand the changes that we're not necessarily happy about or familiar with, and yet allowing that to take place without dividing us and saying, well, I'm going to go my way, you go your way, that we can join hands and walk together forward.
Yes.
And that's what the movie gave me hope about that.
Yeah, amen to that.
I think everyone said it so well, but I think, you know, the movie has a happy ending, but it doesn't feel manufactured.
Correct.
It feels very truthful,
Yeah.
and you believe that this resolution came from everything you see in the movie, and that's in itself very hopeful.
Mm-hmm.
Sincerely, thank you guys so much for bringing this movie here. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.